Okay, we're going to begin the April 21st Traffic Commission meeting. Members present this evening include our City Engineer Nick Rystrom, Fire Chief Chris Bright, and myself, Frank Stringy, City Planner. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll get right into public hearings. The first item on the agenda is to amend Schedule 14 of Title 10 bus stops to extend the bus stop number 4761 from the current existing 50 feet to approximately 80 feet. Do we have any proponents?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ira Basalski, 53 Delhone Street, Ward 2 Councilor. Gentlemen on the board. About 7 months ago, people down in Oak Island Street approached me about the bus stop, and what's happening is the buses can't get into the shelter area because of the way the cars are parked. So they have to pull out in the middle of the street, and a lot of seniors can't walk from the shelter without stepping down off the sidewalk again, walking maybe about 15 feet out into the street, and then climbing onto the bus at that point. So they wanted the bus to get closer to the shelter area. So I proposed and spoke to the Mbta, and Julie was involved, that they would, right now it's only 50 feet. So we're looking to extend it to 80, at least 80 to 90 feet, if I'm correct. And that's enough for the bus to pull in, and it's right next to a driveway at the apartment house across from Kelly's, which adds another 15 feet to the bus stop, even though the markings will be before that. So they have enough room, and Tom Quintanera, is it, Julie? Tom Quint from Mbta. Okay, and he has no problem with it. He sent a letter in approving it, and we talked to Paul Argenzio, and he's willing to stripe the area, you know, to make sure there's no parking. And they'll put up their regular signs, their bus stop signs, to replace whatever's needed to try and make that open for the seniors. So I just submitted a petition from approximately 80 people in the neighborhood requesting that it happen.
Yes, I have this submitted a petition of residents in the Oak Island area in favor of extending the bus stop.
Right, and they all realize that they'll probably be losing 1 or 2 spaces on the street. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none. Oh, we have one.
Julie DeMauro, Department of Planning and Community Development. I'm just going to reinforce what Ira said about expanding the bus stop location. This has been an issue for quite some time. If you do expand the length of this bus stop, it will allow the MBTA to put the appropriate street markings down on the ground and the signage as well as allow the bus to pull in. There was some questioning about eliminating parking. However, I don't think there is actually enough space legally for a parking spot with the bus stop there as well. The crosswalk is actually behind the bus stop, so when the bus pulls in, that will take up the full spot of space, but I don't think there was enough space there anyway. I think it was less than 18 feet, and our parking bays are 9 by 18, so it wasn't a legal spot to begin with.
All right, thank you very much. Any other proponents? Hearing none and seeing none. Are there any opponents? Hearing none and seeing none, I'll close this hearing. Is there a motion by
Motion to
members?
approve.
Motion approved. Second?
Second.
Second. So ordered. Public hearing number 2, amend the residential parking program to allow for non-resident customers patronizing business establishments with liquor license beyond 12 a.m. Go ahead.
That was just to be tabled there for now.
Table? Okay. Motion to table? It's tabled. Public hearing number 3, amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicapped person parking areas by adding 15 Elliott Road. Proponents, Mr. Chichico?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I had sent all the members here the information for 15 Elliott Road. They meet all the requirements for being able to apply for a handicap parking spot in front of their residence. They do not have a driveway, let alone handicap accessible driveway. If there is no outstanding fines, fees, or parking tickets, my recommendation is a handicap installation, sign installation should be granted and approved, but of course, it's the Traffic Commission's final decision to grant any handicap signs.
Thank you, Ralph. Councilor Basalski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. 15 Elliott Road is a single-family home, and he moved from down the street on Standish, from further down in Elliott, and he had space down there, but since he moved up the street, the houses are very, very close together. There is no driveway, and it's very tough for him to do, especially, he's getting a little older in life, and he needs to be in front of his house to park, especially when he tries to come home and unload his groceries and stuff like that. So I have no problem with this happening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that. Are there any opponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close this hearing. Wish of the members?
Mr. Chairman, on the recommendation of Mr. DeChico, I make a motion to approve.
Second. Second, so ordered. Hearing number 4, amend Schedule 9 of Title 10, isolated stop signs by removing Conan Street for northeastbound and southwestbound traffic at the intersection of Rumney Road. Are there any proponents?
That came in from the ward councilor in the area. Conan Street at one time was a two-way on the northerly side. It's currently now a one-way. So if you go up Remini Road, you come to a stop sign, and it's a one-way going that way and a one-way going that way. There's no cars crossover in front of you. So in my opinion, that's actually been gone a long time ago.
Thank you, Sergeant Janino. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none. Are there any opponents? Have your name and address, please.
Michael D'Angelo, 185 Rumney Road. I'm here representing myself and my parents. We've lived there my whole life. They've lived there for 30 years. As it is now, a lot of drivers, they just roll stop or just completely blow the stop signs on Rumney Road. And by removing that stop sign, I believe that it'll allow drivers to build up a lot of speed from Larkin Street to the Newman Street stop sign. And already as it is, it's difficult pulling out of all our neighbors and ourselves, pulling out of our driveways with people rolling by the stop signs. Additionally, people have their cars parked in the street, so it's hard to see through them. And just by removing that stop sign, I find that people are just going to be blowing through, and when they reach that Newman Street stop sign, they're going to be blowing it with even more speed than they would have without it. And, the history of that area, that accidents have always been a problem. Even before living on Rumney Road, my father grew up on Gore Road, always saw accidents over there. We also have a new family that just moved in on that block, and they have young children. Now the weather's been getting nicer, they've been playing outside, so I worry for them, drivers just building up speed from Larkin Street onto Newman Street. So I do believe that an argument was made that the stop sign creates stop-and-go traffic on Rumney Road, but there's already every intersection. There's only 2 intersections that don't have stop signs, Dawes and Stark Ave, because those are being T intersections. So the stop-and-go traffic, if it's not an express street, Malden Street should be used for people trying to avoid that type of thing. So I don't really see that argument coming into play here. So just to really, I think the stop sign is a good thing, keeps the road safer, preventing people from just blowing through everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other opponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that section of the hearing. Members of the commission?
Do we have any data, Sarge, on accidents at that intersection there?
I didn't pull the data on it, no.
Didn't we have the ward council here the last meeting in favor of removing the stop sign, I believe? Was it this item? Wasn't it his request, right, from the
Yeah, it
city
was a
council?
request of the council. Yeah. So, again, this stop sign is coming from Conant and not stopping, or is it stopping traffic on Rumney?
If you go down Romney Road, you stop, you either go right towards Squire Road or go left. Corner Street's a one-way towards Squire Road, and split a one-way towards Malden Street.
Yeah, so there's no real need for crossing traffic coming across Rumney.
No, it's just to stop traffic.
Yeah.
If you want to table for the council to come in,
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the counselor, since there's opposition from a couple of residents in the neighborhood. Let's have the counselor come in, we'll table this. Do we have a motion to table?
Make a motion to table.
Table.
Second.
Public hearing number 5, amend section 10-34020, section F, to include 17 Dehone Street, making the residents eligible for parking stickers. Do we have any proponents?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Jamie Russo, 1040 North Shore Road, Suite 2, representing T-Hone LLC. I think originally, this building was issued parking, and I think maybe in error, it was removed when they started there was a rule that any new building was not gonna be able to get resident parking stickers. This building was granted by special permit, and there wasn't a condition that it wasn't going to receive, that it wasn't going to be able to receive parking, resident parking. There are tenants there that have been there since early 2017 who had parking, and then for some reason, the building was then put on the rolls as to not be able to get parking. So we were just coming back to get what was originally given to the building in hopes that they would be able to receive their parking.
So let me ask the question, there was no condition in the special permit to restrict
No,
parking?
I don't believe so.
It is apparent that we have made buildings ineligible for parking that received parking variances. The case here is, this is a special permit. How many units in this?
8 units and a
8.
commercial.
8 units. Okay.
In
Frank,
fact,
just for the record, Frank,
Yep.
on the original 17 Dehone Street, it was down for 9 units. So if you're saying there's 8 units, there's one less.
No, it's 9. 8 plus the doctor's there. He's the 9th unit.
It's a commercial unit.
Yeah, yeah.
It's originally listed on the eligible list with nine units, originally. It was removed after. But originally, it was the same thing it has now.
So it was eligible, and then it was knocked into the ineligible section.
I don't know where it came from.
I believe it was error.
I think the one with the 6 are over, they pulled it off and they're building a building. There was a whole list of buildings that they put in, at the time. They might have found that list there, but I mean, originally, it was on the eligible list with 9 units. And we have 9 units now, so you're not gaining, you're not losing, it's the same as it was.
Yeah, so this is,
And I also received a call from the businesses there, there's the doctor's office down there, some of the patients calling
Yes.
up on it in favor of it.
okay, so there's a case to be made to move it into section F. Okay, are there any other proponents?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ira Basalski, Ward 2 Councilor, 53 Dehone Street. I live right up the street. I believe what had happened was after he built the building and there were no restrictions put in, That's when the traffic was going into this no overnight parking scenario and cutting down as much outside parking as possible. And all those G and F people were, and because of the size of his building, he was put in the G section. So where he wouldn't, because of the 8 units, I think, what were we talking, 6 units of?
6 units to cap, yeah.
Right, I think it was, his building was built before that rule was made. So, the neighborhood is very difficult as far as parking is concerned. If I'm correct, just on Dahone Street, there's only 12 parking spaces, and you have about 25 apartments between 9 Dahone Street and 17 Dahone Street. Because you got the condos in the middle with 6, he got 8, and then there's 5 at 7 Dahone Street. So, it is difficult, and, but, if he was, my past recollection on rules that if someone has something already, it's tough to take it away from them, as far as a grandfather clause, and I've gotten involved in some bigger issues when that's happened, where we made a rule after something was allowed and then disallowed it. So I know it is a difficult situation, but things seem to be okay down there now. People are still parking there. And we do have resident parking on both sides of the street on Dahone Street. And there's some permit parking on Centennial Ave, and further up Dahone Street they can park. So, it's available if you guys wanted to change it back.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. The opponents?
John Benetti, 34 Dana Street. I'm against this, and I'll give you some reasons. Originally, when these buildings went up, there's 2 of them basically the same size. You got the one on the corner, which was a bar room and a TV store, I think it was Cohen. Then you got the 3-decker, which is now condominiums, and then you got an almost identical building to the right of that. Right, and that was Gaddis Key Shop and another place, and there was one apartment above Gaddis Key Shop. Now, when these 2 buildings were built, first that one, then the other one, there was supposed to be no parking. Now, what went on there, I don't know what the special permits and none of that was. But shortly after these buildings were built, the angle parking was meter parking. That disappeared to become residential parking. So there's been, seems to be, we're playing around with this parking stuff in this area. Now, the reason I'm against it, and then I'll get into more, is once you allow one building, then it's another building asks for a variance, somebody else is gonna want it, say, why not my building? Why not the ones on Shirley Ave? What about that big monster you're building on Nausea Road, kinda across the street from where the credit union became a 3-family, became 4, and you moved it back, that's no parking. No. See, so I'm just saying, this is what's going on. So we got all this buildings with no parking. Now, my street, you got 24 parking spots, if they park right. There's 35 cars sometimes, so they have to go to overflow. Sometimes they don't have to, because you have visitors and so on and so forth. So if you open this up, I'm saying, does somebody else ask for the same thing? Why did we lose the angle parking that was parking meters? That became residential parking. It seems like we're doing favors. That's my argument. And my biggest fear is, does the next building get it? Does the one behind that corner building got no parking? Do they ask for it? Then it comes, where are they gonna park? Well, you got a parking sticker. Like I just told you, there's 24 spots in my street. If there's 35 cars, you gotta park on either Garfield or Nausea Road, or eventually you gotta do like Somerville. You gotta give them 5-6 blocks, and the parking sticker is just a hunting license. Where do you park when you come home? So my biggest thing is worry, will this go somewhere else? Will somebody else ask for this? And I still would like to know why we lost the angle parking to become resident parking, and I fear it was because of those 3 buildings. Somehow they took those meters away for the businesses. The doctor would have no problem right now because there would have been metered parking right there. There was metered parking in that area. So you gentlemen can do whatever you like, but that's how I feel about it. Like I said, my biggest concern is, does this open a can of worms for other places to do this? Then we're in big trouble. Because parking is going to be a problem sooner or later for all of us. So that's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You make some valid points, but I can assure you that this will not happen. This is a situation we're trying to correct because it was a pre-existing building and it should not have been in this category. And the other building is less than 6 units, so it doesn't qualify for not being eligible. So I can assure you that this will not happen again because the variances, and we'll ensure that the special permits from now on include language that does not, that restricts them from being eligible for residence parking stickers
Right.
in those areas.
Well, like I say, and still my concern is why do we lose the angle parking that was meter? I wonder if you can go back and how that became residential parking. Actually, there was meters on both sides of that street at one time.
Yeah, maybe the
That
council,
little short.
maybe council can give us
You
some.
go down Centennial Ave and there's a short piece becomes, when you make your right, be a right. That's the home street. It's a very short street. That was always meter parking and then it went away after these buildings got built. Thank you very much.
That was probably
Thank you.
about 6 years ago. They started pulling meters out of business districts and allowed the residents to park and stuff like that. That was, we did some on Broadway, some on Shirley Avenue, some of the municipal parking lots back then.
We did eliminate meters for that purpose. Any other opponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Members of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, just looking for some clarification. When this building was built, there was a special permit. Was the parking addressed in the special permit or not?
It was not addressed in the special permit at all. Did not restrict it.
So there's no, it wasn't granted a variance or anything, it just wasn't, it's not included?
Right, so this building is classified as a pre-existing non-conforming structure, which is exempt from this section.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion either way?
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, all opposed, so ordered. We'll go into requests. We have a request from Councilor McKenna, is requesting 4 resident parking spaces be added to the municipal lot on Central Avenue. Are there any proponents? Yes, sir.
Zachary Babu, Director of Parking, City of Revere. Just to give a little education on this, there's 100, every spot in this lot does turn into residential parking as soon as the meters are turned off, which is 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They only go on from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. So 40 hours during a given week, it is metered parking or business permit parking. The other 128 hours in a given week are totally open to anybody with a resident sticker to be able to park in this lot without issues. And there's about 88 spots in total in this lot.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Wishes of the commission?
Mr. Chairman,
It's not a hearing?
Question-
That's correct. This is a request. I'm sorry.
question of, for Mr. Babo. Did you say that during the day, I guess maybe 8 to 5?
9 to
it's
5.
9 to 5, it's metered, and otherwise it's resident?
Resident parking, yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just for the record, I spoke with the counselor, and she's requesting a public hearing for next meeting, and she will attend that meeting there. Well, this is a request, she didn't show up for this meeting here, I told her I'd speak for her.
All right, motion to move to a public hearing?
So moved.
Second? So moved. Request number 2, amend Schedule 11 of Title 10, handicapped person parking areas by adding 310 Vane Street. Mr. DeChico?
Thank you. This is just a request for a public hearing. I would let the resident know when the next traffic commission meeting is so they can come and discuss why they want a handicap sign. Unfortunately, they do not meet the eligibility requirements because of a handicapped driveway there, but they would like to come and discuss it. I have all the information, pictures and whatnot. So this way I'll give them the opportunity to come in and discuss that.
Okay, thank you. Motion to move to a public hearing?
Motion to move to a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Move to a public hearing.
Second.
For the Director of Parking, would like to amend Section 1034-020, Section F, to allow for 2 resident permits plus 1 visitor pass. Mr. Babel?
Zachary Babo, Director of Parking, City of Revere. So the way the F list is, it's a 1-in-1 list. Every one of these buildings had 6 or more units and was reviewed by the Traffic Commission to decide whether they were given parking variances or whatever it was. Ultimately, what's going on with this is we're in 2022 where everybody has more than 1 car per house, whether you got a husband, a wife, a child. I don't feel that the 1-in-1 really assists the community. I'm not asking for any additional visitor passes to be granted, and I always rely on your advice and how you guys would like to go forward if you want to review this individual property by property, but I feel like it makes it very difficult where there are multiple cars coming out of per household, and we're just opening up people to get parking violations day in and day out for something that they need a vehicle. They need to get back and forth to work. They need to take kids to school, whatever it is, and to tell people, no, you can't have a car, you're going to get a ticket, makes it very difficult, especially on my end when they come to my office. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With your advisement, we'll take this and move it to a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, if I may just put some comments in. This is the first time I've seen this, but based on what we just did with the prior public hearing on 17 Dahone Street, if we give everybody 2 permits down there, we don't have that parking down in that neighborhood. I think we really have to review this and look at it by districts, scenario rather, see if you want to do it in other parts of the city. I know it would be a big problem down in my neighborhood. So, I think we really have to look at it and see what we can come up with. Because these people don't even get, the ones at 17 Dahone won't get, they only get 1 sticker. That's it, not even a visitor permit. But down in my neighborhood, it would be very, very difficult to make this happen. People will be parking anywhere and everywhere, even illegally wherever they can. So I think we want to be careful on how we move forward on this one.
I agree.
Thank you.
That's why I believe we should make it a case-by-case basis based on the determination of the parking clerk. Because there are different scenarios for different parts of the city that this would be a good application for. So with that, we'll take it under advisement. Can we table it for the next meeting?
Motion to table to the next meeting?
Thank you. Table. Yeah. Councilor Cogliandro requests the Traffic Commission to amend Section 1032-211, Commercial Vehicle Parking, application for permit by striking subsection 1032-211, footnote 1A, valid business certificate must be on file with the city clerk's office for the business associated with the commercial vehicle. Mr. Cogliandro is not here. Do we have anybody else who'd like to speak? Mr. Babel?
So I support Councilor's motion. I think as long as you're paying excise tax to the city and you're paying the $420 for the commercial vehicle, I think that's all that's simply necessary. Currently, right now, has to be a Revere-owned business, is what this language is kind of alluding to, and I do support this motion to strike that. Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll table this and take it under advisement and till the counselor can appear.
Motion to table.
Motion
Mr.
table.
Chairman.
Question number 5, the MBTA requests that the Traffic Commission approve 3 bus stop changes for the 411 route. New stop at Revere Street to North Shore Road. Shift, I think we'll take these, we'll take them all at once. Shift Beach Street at North Shore Road in front of 646 Beach Street, and shift Beach Street opposite Nahant Ave to Beach Street far side of Walnut Ave. Ms.
Julie
Demaro?
Demaro, Department of Planning and Community Development. So this is just a request, actually, this is a revision from the original request from the MBTA back in, I believe, January or December. I forget when this actually was. It might have been even February. But the Traffic Commission requested more information about moving these bus stops related to the 411 route. And the memo from the MBTA was sent to all of you to review. Additionally, there were 4 stops, but one of them is actually located on DCR MassDOT property. So this is just a request for the public hearing for the MBTA to shift these stops around based on ridership, boarding, and departure of the bus for this route.
Thank you, Mr. Demaro. Councilman Basalski?
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman. This is the first I've heard of this. You know, I knew the 411 was eliminated, which I was against that because they totally abandoned everybody on North Shore Road, on Ocean Avenue, from Revere Street down to Beach Street, and even around Beach Street down to North Shore Road. They totally abandoned people there. There was no buses going down those routes anymore. I was against this when it came up before in the 411 because they rerouted it down Revere Street where they want to put this bus stop. And then they were eliminating the bus stop at Flaherty Square, across from Peter's Roast Beef. And they want to move it behind Peter's Roast Beef in front of this 4-family house, and which has a 15-minute parking space right now for the businesses that are on the corner, Brothers Insurance. And so I have a problem with this. Because I still don't believe that the bus stop is big enough at that location, you know, for a legitimate bus stop, even though Peter's Roast Beef has a large driveway. There's still a problem there, you know, and I know this elderly lady is against it. People are going to be sitting on her porch waiting for the bus. And one of the people at Nahant Ave, which they want to move down to Walnut Ave, which was moved from there originally back to Nahant Ave when they changed it several years ago. People were sitting on the guy's porch, and he had to put up grates so people don't climb on his porch and sit there and wait for the bus, especially in bad weather. So I have a problem with this, you know, and like I said, I'm disappointed that I was not given an advance notice on it. And when it comes to a public hearing, I will be totally against this. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. So given the situation, I think it renders further review and discussion with our Transportation Coordinator, Julie Demaro, to evaluate these new locations and changes. And then we'll table it to that time, until that time, we then call it to a public hearing if we're all in favor of this. But I guess moving it to a hearing would be just for that purpose, so let's, I'll go with the wishes of the committee. There's obviously opposition to these changes.
Just for the record over there, Frank, all right? The bus stops right now at the 411 stands, Bob's Auto Body across the street, there's a double bus stop at that location now. Get down to Pete's, there's no bus stop to make the corner. Once you make the corner, it's over by Nahan Avenue. So the reasonable distance between the Bob's Auto Body and Nahan Avenue.
The only thing is I took a look at this, and the distances are more than 500 feet. By ADA laws, that's quite a distance for people with disabilities to be walking to a bus stop. What I'd like to also know, and a lot of their data, they don't take a look at, they take the ridership, but they don't have any ridership for people with disabilities that are presently riding that bus. They give you all in one lump sum that the ridership is low, but they don't put how many people are riding that bus or at that stops that are disabled. By moving these stops more than the 200 feet is quite a distance for not only elderly, but people with disabilities. So by them saying they're moving bus stops over 500 to 1,000 feet, that's quite a distance. So I'm also in the same realm with Councilor Basalski, that I would I would not support this for the disabled residents in Rivera, along with residents of economic justice. We're in the demographics of people that have low incomes, and this could cause some heartache for them, looking for other alternatives.
I agree with your points, but the MBTA now has a protocol of eliminating a lot of bus stops that are close together like that for redundancy and creating stops that are 500 to 1,000 feet away. I think we have to have the MBTA come in and discuss this, so if we want to move it to a public hearing, that'll open up the conversation a little bit more.
Motion to move to a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, motion to move to a public hearing. There is no further business. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. All right, request to allow for angle parking at 1470 North Shore Road.
Proponents, all right. This came about, the new owners came to the station last week, and they informed me that when they were building the business, they weren't aware we're going to change it around, take the angle parking away from the Stearns, and they requested that we review that and allow them to park there again. And we haven't pulled it off the books yet, so there's still parking angle over there. There hasn't been any problems, so I request a public hearing on it.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ira Basalski, 53 DeHone Street, Ward 2 Counselor. We did have a public hearing on this last year, and you guys voted to eliminate angled parking in the whole city because there were only 2 spots, and they were basically in front of this facility, which was empty at the time. And there was no looking at who was going to be moving in there. The neighbors across the street complained that when the cars come out back out from their angled parking and they want to go southbound on North Shore Road, they swing back out into the southbound lane, and many times have actually hit his private vehicle in front of his house. And that's why we changed it back then. But this also affected Bob's Auto Body because he uses his front of his store for angle parking. But it's wider there, and that isn't so bad. But the biggest problem was in front of this store. It's up to you guys to see if you want to move it back. You still have to have a public hearing, and the neighbor will have to be notified, and I'm sure he'll come up.
Can I ask you what's the difference in the parking rate, number of parking spaces if it goes to parallel versus angle?
Right now, there are approximately 8 angle parking, and we'll reduce it to 4.
Oh, cut it in half, okay.
Because before that, there was angle parking from the edge of that store up to Campbell Ave at the corner, and there was angle parking there, and about 5-6 years ago, we eliminated that angle parking because cars were having trouble coming around the bend from Campbell onto North Shore Road northbound. So we had parallel parking from the edge of his store up to Campbell, and we left it because there was a store there active. But, you know, once it was empty and the neighbor came in to complain, you know, we approached you folks. If you want to change it now, that's up to you, but I'm sure we need a public hearing on it, and there'll be some negative points on it.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Do we have a motion to move to public hearing?
Motion to move to a public hearing?
Second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Move to a hearing. Item number 7 is Councilman Basalski request to amend Section 1034-020, Section F, to include 1695 Nausea Road, making up to 12 residents eligible for parking stickers to park on Campbell Ave.
I guess here we go. I was approached by the residents at 1695 Nausea Road who abut Campbell Ave up near the pathways going from Centennial, from Nausea Road up to Campbell and from Campbell up to Florence. Their units back up to an open area where there were no residents other than themselves parking, and we measured out the area and we figured out that you could fit 12 vehicles from behind 1695 Nausea Road, from the crosswalk northbound up to the next property line. So I talked to them, and we kind of came to an agreement, a middle agreement, not to give them, they have 22 condominiums at 1695, and I said, we just can't give everybody stickers. So,
Yes, Counselor, I understand. I'm familiar with this project. I think they have 34 on-site parking spaces at 23 units. At the time, they conformed to parking, so no variance, I don't believe, was required. I believe it was a special permit
Right.
from the city council. Am I correct that they do have garages under?
not all of them.
Not all.
Only one side, only the Campbell Ave side apartments have garages. The other ones do not. And granted, you're right, you know, they probably do have the 34 spaces, but what's happened now, those buildings have been there for over 25 years, and their kids are grown up. They're still living there. And they have there's no other places for them to park. They can't park on Nausea Road. And with the permit parking on Campbell Ave, there seems to be sufficient parking to allow at least 12 more cars from that particular project to park behind their own facility on Campbell Ave. So it's something I told them I'd approach you with. We do have rules and we'll have rules and regulations, and I have been in discussion with the parking director on this, and about that we'd only allow one sticker for each of those 12 units to max it out, and he would maintain a Excel of what units have them, and if one leaves and someone else wants to be able to apply for it, they could. But that's something that the parking director would maintain. So we're looking for this public hearing to have it approved.
Any comments from any of the members on this request?
Mr. Chairman, I'm looking just at the aerial that we had done last year. I see 34 striped spaces in between the two buildings. And if you're associating another space with each of the units that's on the Campbell Ave side, that looks like there's 13 units there, so you're talking about 47 spots total. And it looks like there's 22 units. Seems to me like that's, should be anyway, sufficient in terms of parking. I just wanted to, provide the numbers that I can see in terms of how much parking is there right now. I'm not sure what's happening on Campbell in terms of if neighbors are parking, people who live on Campbell, if they're in need of those spots on the street or not, but it appears that they do have a significant amount of parking on site.
Yes, they do, and we've come across situations like this before, and we've kind of given the discretion to the parking director to hand out stickers on a case-by-case basis if they can show proof that they have, more than two cars, more than one.
And may say as long as the cars are registered at that location.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And they wouldn't be given any visitor permits with this. It'd be one sticker per unit for those 12 units.
So, I mean, rather than to amend this, to put it in that other category, I'd rather leave it as we dealt with the other situations, that the parking director, to identify those units and just issue one sticker to the ones that qualify.
That's fine, maybe, I wanted to run it by you folks first, and if you give him that authority, that's fine, we can work together with it. Okay.
Yeah, he has it. We gave it to him in the past. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, thank you very much.
That concludes
Motion to adjourn.
the public hearing and request for this April 21st Traffic Commission meeting. Motion to adjourn? Adjourn.